You know, sometimes just a handful of words can echo for centuries, and that's exactly what happened back in Tang Dynasty China. A poet named Du Mu wrote just 28 characters that, over 1,000 years later, we're still talking about. Today we're going to explore his masterpiece, Qingming, a poem that just taps into a feeling so universal it truly transcends time and language. So, before we start picking it apart, let's just experience the poem as a whole, just as Du Mu intended. Here it is, Qingming. Let the sounds and the words just wash over you for a moment, and then we'll dive in line by line. All right, every great poem has its own time and place, right? And for this one, we really need to understand two things. First, the poet himself, Du Mu, a major figure from the late Tang Dynasty. And second, the day he's writing about, Qingming, which is, well, it's a very significant day. Qingming is this festival of beautiful contradiction. On one hand, it's a very solemn day for remembering ancestors, for sweeping their tombs. But at the exact same time, it's a day of vibrant celebration, for getting outdoors and welcoming the arrival of spring. And it's this deep tension, this push and pull between sorrow and new life, that is the absolute heart of this poem. Okay, so the poem kicks off by immediately blurring the line between the weather outside and what the character is feeling inside. These first two lines just set this powerful, melancholy mood. Let's start with that very first line. Listen to the music of the original Chinese, 清明时节雨纷纷. And in English, that paints a simple but really potent image. We're not talking about a dramatic thunderstorm here. It's a quiet, persistent drizzle that just feels like it's never going to stop. Now, the absolute genius of this line is packed into a single word, Fen Fen. On the surface, it's about the weather, right? That fine, soul-dampening drizzle. But, and this is the key, Fen Fen can also mean chaotic or troubled. So with just one word, Du Mu masterfully describes both the endless rain and the traveler's endless sorrow. The outer world and the inner world just melt into one. And that mood gets even deeper with the second line, 路上行人欲断魂. The translation here really hits you with a feeling of complete despair. We're zooming in from the wider landscape right into the heart of the person walking through it. 欲断魂 is such a powerful phrase. I mean, this isn't just being sad. This is feeling like your soul is right on the verge of shattering. We learn that our subject is a xingzhen, which isn't a tourist out for a fun trip, but a weary traveler, a long way from home. And to be all alone on Qingming, a day all about family gatherings, that just makes the loneliness 100 times worse. The rain outside is a perfect mirror for the storm inside him. So after painting this picture of total gloom, the poem takes a really important turn. The traveler, instead of just sinking into his sorrow, decides to do something. He starts looking for a way out. And that brings us to the poem's pivot point. It's a question, and you can almost hear the urgency in it. 借问酒家何处有? So he's asking for a tavern, sure. But what is he really looking for here? You can bet it's a lot more than just a drink. Yeah, that winehouse stands for so much more. It's a search for physical comfort, first of all, a roof to get out from under the rain, a little warmth to fight off the cold. But most importantly, it's a search for emotional comfort, for solace. He's looking for a place to soothe that profound ache of his broken soul. And then, the final line. This is where the poem delivers its unforgettable answer. And it doesn't come from some wise old person, but from a simple shepherd boy, a figure of innocence, totally connected to the land. The last line is just so beautifully melodic. Listen. 牧童遥指杏花村. And this gives us one of the most iconic images in all of Chinese literature. Seriously, this picture has been burned into the cultural memory for centuries. The real power here is in the silence. The shepherd doesn't say a word, he just points. The word for it is yaozhe, which means pointing from a distance. And that adds this beautiful sense of a hopeful journey that still needs to be made. And the destination? Xinhua, apricot flower village. The name alone makes you think of beauty, spring, and warmth. It's a picture that's so much more vivid than any spoken directions could ever be. And there you have it. The whole poem is basically a bridge. It takes us from the problem, yu duan huan, a soul on the verge of breaking, to the potential solution, Xinhua, apricot flower village. It's this perfect, compact journey from the absolute depths of despair to a little glimmer of hope on the horizon. But And this is where the real mastery comes in. The true genius of the poem is in what it doesn't tell us. The journey is pointed out, but it's not finished. There's this concept in classical Chinese art containing endless meaning beyond the words, and Du Mu just nails it here. He cuts the scene the moment the shepherd points. We never see the traveler get to the inn. We don't know if he finds his comfort. That final part, it's left completely up to our imagination. And that's exactly what makes the feeling of the poem so vast and infinite. This whole emotional arc follows a classic four-part structure. It starts by setting that melancholy scene. It continues by going deeper into the traveler's sadness. It makes a turn with that crucial question, and it concludes with that hopeful, open-ended image. It's an absolute masterclass in storytelling, all packed into just 28 characters. When you boil it all down, the reason this poem has lasted so long is because of a simple, universal truth. It perfectly captures that deeply human feeling of being a little lost, a little sad, a little damp, and that desperate search for a small comfort, a bit of warmth, just a moment of peace on an otherwise gloomy day. And so the poem leaves us with a question that really does echo through the centuries. It kind of turns the mirror back on us, you know? It asks us to look inward and wonder, when we feel lost in our own kind of rain, what's that vision of hope that we're searching for? Where is our apricot flower village?